Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mindful Mornings at Sunrise. My name is Tracy Gerlach, and joining us today is Dr. Chaya Lieba Kobernick. Dr. Kobernick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. So happy to be here.
Good. We're so happy to have you. By we, I mean myself, because it's just us. And where in the world are you? I always ask all my guests.
Oh, sure. I'm actually in Israel.
You are the furthest away so far. Actually, I don't know. We had someone from England. Yes, you're probably further.
I think a little further, yeah. Although my space is not, I'm not so good with space.
Well, welcome. So you're a clinician, you're a mental health therapist. Will you tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Sure. Yeah. I'm a clinical psychologist. We have a practice called the CBT DBT Center, specializing in offering CBT and DBT and evidence-based practice in general for the orthodox community. So I'm super passionate about getting evidence-based practice, treatments that work, quality mental health care to the orthodox community.
That's awesome. But it's not based in Israel.
Actually, yeah, most of our clients are in New York and New Jersey.
New York, New Jersey. But right now you're virtual because we're all virtual, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And I was reading your website before we really got to know each other, and you studied under Dr. Jill Rabbis, which is one of the leading experts on DBT in adolescence, which is amazing. What was it like to study with her?
Oh,
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
No, it was great. I got to really I came into grad school already interested in DBT, and so I was really excited about getting to work with her. And we had a DBT lab together where we talked about research projects going on within our lab, and Jill would teach us different aspects of DBT, and it was really fun getting to learn from an expert.
I bet. I bet that's amazing. And so working with DBT and other therapeutic modalities within the Orthodox community, what is that like? Because I know I come from a conservative religious background, and there are mental health stigmas attached to different aspects of religion and different aspects of mental health. So what does that look like?
Certainly, yeah. So I think there are different stigmas within our community. Um, I think in general there are things that are more like permissible or acceptable, like those kinds of issues are okay, and then other things are less okay. And I also think that there's a culture around like what good quality treatment is like, and I think also because of like lack of higher education in general makes it harder to access really good quality care. I think we're a community who really values growth and self-awareness and working on oneself. And so I think this is something that people do value. Working on one's mental health is important, but at the same time, having a mental illness is really challenging in a community that's so close and small. That's one of the reasons I
Mm-hmm.
love having virtual groups, is because we, really can maintain much more anonymity. We have people from really diverse backgrounds, and so there's less of a likelihood you'll see somebody from your neighborhood. But yeah, that's definitely a concern for people.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also have an organization called the Mindful Woman,
Yeah,
and that is geared towards the Orthodox community, right? Tell us about what that is.
sure. Yeah. So that's my like fun pet project. So as somebody who is a mental health professional and very involved in evidence-based practice, mindfulness is a huge part of most of the third wave or newer CBT treatments out there. And as I learned more about mindfulness and got to practice it on my own, I got to see how valuable it is. Forget about mental health, forget about like anything related to psychology. Just as a human, it's such a great health practice and so
Mm-hmm.
valuable. So and I think it's really hard um, to get mindfulness in like a healthy and meaningful way within the community, because mindfulness is known as something that's either like Buddhist or Eastern religion based, or just as something that's secular. So really getting a
Yeah.
religion based perspective is so valuable. So I just began, not just, but over the years, I've been offering mindfulness to the community in different ways, in schools, consultation, and workshops and just trying to get it to people in as like broad and open of a way. Like, this is not tied to psychology. This is not tied to anybody having a particular issue or having a problem. This is just a wellness practice that we all deserve to have. I always like to say, a minute of mindfulness is a gift, right? Like, it's not something that's supposed to be unpleasant or like a task to do or something that you should do. Something that's really just a present for yourself. Wouldn't you want to give yourself that present, or at least share it with a friend? So yeah.
Yeah. And that's interesting what you're saying about like the religious connotations around well-being around mindfulness. Um, and we think of it as secular, or we think of it as Buddhist. But honestly, like, all religions have meditation practices and mindfulness ingrained in their culture already, right? Praying and chanting. I imagine you use a lot of that in the Mindful Woman, or is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I do like to just like get out some myths just by talking about, hey, our religion has always asked us to have 5 different elements of doing any mitzvah or any commandment. There are 5 aspects to doing it. So it's not just doing it. One big aspect is concentrating and having full intention with it. Well, hello, what is mindfulness?
Yeah.
We can go through the motions, but if you're thinking about something else, you're not doing 1/5 of what you're supposed to be doing. So that's already like a requirement of us to practice mindfulness. And I get the sense that that our forefathers and forebears had this skill more readily available to them, and they were already practicing it on their own. And we've lost that. And that's not because our religion doesn't have it in it. It's because we don't know how to get it from just, you can't just, I can't sit down, open the Bible and know how to practice mindfulness from that. I can't, I'm not on that level. And so if I can take the secularized versions of mindfulness that have been, made more accessible to me and make them usable and helpful for me, well, I think that's like a requirement for me to work on that, right? If I'm going to work on my observance and work on my spirituality and my, bettering myself as a human, well, I better work on this aspect too. I think that's hugely important. Is kind of breaking down that myth that it's a secular thing or whatever. That this is actually something it's already built into the system. You're already supposed to be doing this, right?
Yeah. Why do you think it has disconnected itself from a lot of major religions over the years, over the generations, over the time?
I'm not sure exactly, but I do think that over time, people have become like we're doing the same things, like we're fulfilling the same rules and tasks, but having the not just the spirit behind it, but also like the mental capacity behind it. I think it requires this kind of work, and I think we didn't maintain that upkeep. I think this is a practice that's like really, like I said, required of us in order to be able to do fully, to fully observe and to fully, engage in being a healthy and well-rounded human. And I think that's been lost over time. I think people have not continued to engage in this piece of it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, let's get it back. And so I asked if you could lead us through a brief mindfulness activity so that we can restore that aspect in our lives. Are you willing to do that right now?
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Awesome.
Sure. So for this practice, let's start by getting into a mindful posture. We are sitting, so in our sitting posture, you can have your feet flat on the floor. I like to encourage, we call DBT willing hands, because that's just helps us to be more open and willing. You can have them relaxed by your side, and you can lower your eyes or just keep them in a place that's not distracting for you. You can keep your back straightish, but not tense or tight. You can start by bringing attention and awareness to your breath, coming in and leaving you. Just noticing each breath as a brand new breath that you never experienced before and that you'll never experience again. And I want you to draw your awareness now to the chair or surface that's supporting you. And just reflect on the fact that the chair never rejects you, never says you're not good enough or you're not wanted, just accepts you exactly as you are. And the floor beneath the chair doesn't reject the chair. The earth beneath the floor doesn't reject the floor, it just holds and supports and accepts. If you're inside, the walls that are surrounding you contain you, support you exactly as you are. The air around you that you're breathing in continues to give you life, support you in this moment. It doesn't say you've taken too much, you're too selfish, you're not good enough. It encourages you exactly as you are. And coming back to having our attention and awareness on our breath, coming in and leaving us. Not necessarily trying to change anything or wishing it were any different, just being with ourselves as we are, exactly as we are in this moment. When you're ready, you can move around your fingers and move around your toes. Bring attention and awareness back to the space that we're in.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kobernick. It was so nice to chat with you, and thank you for that beautiful practice.
Yeah. Thank you for participating with me.
Of course. If you could explain one takeaway that you would like our audience to gain from this chat, what would that be?
Sure. So one thing you highlighted when we spoke earlier that resonated with me is that I've spoken about before, but I wasn't on my mind recently. The idea of mindfulness for its usefulness in our lives. I don't like to push mindfulness because you should do it or because it's good for you. Mindfulness is so helpful because it totally changes our lives. I am the last person to be thought of as like guru on a mountain, like in my meditating, relaxed state. I'm not. I'm intense and I have a lot of life force in me, and I'm easily distracted, and all those qualities make it that I've found that mindfulness is so impactful, and I want this to be something that's useful for people and just really changes their lives. So if you can do 30 seconds, God bless, do 30 seconds. I really believe it can. Yeah.
Awesome. And we did our 30 seconds today, so we are good. So everyone go out and have a wonderful day, and don't forget to do 30 seconds more tomorrow. All right. Thank you, Dr. Kobernick.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.